If you know who Vinoo Mankad was, you qualify as a cricket nerd. If you know that there is a term called Mankading and what it means, then you qualify as a super cricket nerd. Mankading is when a bowler runs out a non striker, stepping out of the crease even as the bowler is in the act of bowling. It's a bit of a dick move, but it exists as a legitimate technique in the laws of cricket as maintained by the Marylebone Cricket Club or the MCC. Using it is not just within the laws of the game, but one may argue even within the spirit of the game precisely because it is among the laws of the game. So when Indian cricketer Deepti Sharma Mankaded England batswoman Charlie Dean, she neither violated any law nor, for that matter, the game's famous spirit. And yet it feels inelegant and inaesthetic. Notwithstanding that, India won not just the particular game, but the whole three-game series. However, Sharma's Mankading has ruffled many feathers. To understand what the kerfuffle is all about, Mayank Shah report spoke to Raju Korthi, a Mumbai-based veteran journalist and writer who has written an excellent piece about it. Welcome to MCR, Raju. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Pleasure. Same here.
We are meeting on the heels of what I somewhat facetiously describe as a global crisis of Indian cricketer Deepti Sharma Mankading, the British player, England player Charlie Dean. You've written quite a remarkable piece about that. I want to
Yes.
start with essential question about how important is this for the game of cricket?
Uh, See, it has to be important for the game of cricket, as it happened in the last match against England, because that was the match which enabled India to do a whitewash, right? 3-0 whitewash against England.
Right.
Now, I see that particularly it has been incensing for the English cricketers for one reason. From whatever research I have done so far, I think this is the first instance where an English cricketer has been, subject to this kind of wicket. First time it has happened, I see, as far as I understand, and my knowledge goes, that an English cricketer has been out like this. So probably that hurts them a little more.
I see.
And yes, and generally speaking, I think it's part of the game. It has been legitimized by the Marylebone Cricket Club, MCC, who are the custodians of the laws on cricket, and it has been legitimized further by the International Cricket Council. So there is no question of any dispute or controversy as I see it.
Yeah, but I look at it as purely as a cricket nerd myself. This is a bit of a dick move in the sense I don't know why it's on the laws. I know it is on the cricket laws run by the MCC, but purely in terms of cricket aesthetics, I think it's a rather a silly law to have, don't you think?
Yes, that is why I have clearly, according to me, it's just a version of run out, right? Now,
Right.
it has a long history to it. It's not as if it has happened for the first time. There have been, as far as I know, close to about 40 instances of such run out in first class cricket. In test cricket, there have been four prominent such kind of run outs. And, even in the first instance, when Vinoo Mankad ran out Billy Bowden of Australia, that was in
Right.
1947-48 series in Sydney, there was no hue and cry as such, not the kind of scale that you see today. It has gathered momentum only after a lot of batsmen, and I have made it a specific point. This game has always been a little batsman centric. I know
Right.
it has been. It's a fact that it's a fact that it's a known fact. It's a batsman's game. It's loaded in favor of batsmen, right? And
Right.
secondly, the yes, and the bowler is perfectly within his right. If you see that, you know. The bowler is perfectly within his right to run the batsman out. And the laws that I'm talking about, the MCC laws, they have seamlessly moved from what was, a sort of molded in the language of spirit of cricket that people talk about, spirit of game, has now moved on to a very categorical situation The batsman is supposed to be clearly out. There is no question of warning the batsman. It's an old school of thought as far as the laws go.
I see. If just imagine if the situation were reversed and Charlie Dean had done a Mankad on Deepti Sharma or another Indian player, do you think Indians would be as accepting of the laws of cricket?
I'm not really sure because there is a lot of hypocrisy over here. I'm sure finally, all cricketers, they will play according to the spirit of their what you call national enthusiasm. Obviously, that is the point to be considered. So, I particularly feel that probably the cricketers on this side would have made as much noise as the English cricketers are doing now.
I
And
see.
I know particularly, I'll just what you call relate one particular instance on the social media where I am active. He's a former cricketer and he has made it a point to say that this rankled him. And his rankling is purely as a batsman because he recalls one particular instance when he used to play for Delhi that he was out that way. And he says it still rankles after decades of what you call, retiring from the game. So
Right.
it's essentially I think a batsman's feeling always.
Right. I want to understand from you when you say that a warning was required. The warning comes before the game starts, or the warning comes before the bowler bowls. Now, of course, you're saying there is no warning needed. So, at what point should a batter or batswoman or a batsman be warned that this is what might happen?
See, when the bowler runs into bowl, right, the
Right,
ball becomes live at that precise moment when he starts running into bowl, right,
right,
unless he has not completed his run up for some reason, like for example the batsman says he's unable to see because of and wants the side screen to be removed or something of that sort. Then in
right.
that case the umpire will be quick to declare it as a dead ball, but the ball is still live because the bowler is running into bowl, right? And that is the time when if he sees that the non-striker's batsman is, trying to cross the territory, I mean, leave his crease, then he should be warning. That was the old rule, right? So
Yeah.
it is at before the time of the delivery of the ball.
No, but I'm still a bit confused. So, say I've already started running up to the wicket to bowl.
Yes, yes.
Shouldn't I be warning the player before I start run up? Otherwise, how do I warn in the process of doing what I'm supposed to warn about?
That will happen simultaneously. I'll tell you why. Because it is at the time of the time the bowler starts running into bowl that the batsman starts leaving the crease.
Right,
Almost happen simultaneously. And I think, I have also made it very clear. Probably it's a reflex of the batsman, reflex action on the part of the batsman to leave the crease. Now, there could be, you can interpret it in many ways. It could be the batsman is trying to unfairly steal a run, right, by cutting short the distance, already running before the ball has been bowled,
right,
or else, it's probably just, as I said, a reflex action on his part.
right. Interestingly, although the action has come to be known as Mankading, like you said, after the great Indian cricketer and bowler Vinoo Mankad, you write that it actually began in 1835, and I think you
Right.
mentioned the player George Bygant or Bygant. I could be wrong about the last
Yes.
pronunciation of Sussex in
Yes.
1835. Talk a bit about that.
Yes. Now, see, there's not much of history behind it, but as far as history is concerned, records are concerned, that is the known first instance. Now, I have no clear idea what was the public reaction or the reaction of the so-called experts of the game to that. But the point is, it has an old history to it. It's not as if it has happened something recently, right? Even the four instances of Test cricket, I'm talking of Test cricket, which is still considered as the most sacrosanct form of Test cricket.
Right,
Now, there also, there have been four instances, right? And in each case, I think the first was when Australia's Ian Redpath was mankaded by Charlie Griffith in 68, 69. Then there was another instance where England's Derek Randall was run out by New Zealand's Ian Chatfield in 77, 78. And the third instance that I know was Sikandar Bakht of Pakistan, who was run out by Alan Hurst of Australia in 78, 79. Now, in these instances that I know of, in the first instance, Charlie Griffith came in for a lot of flack for running out Ian Redpath. But then you must also remember the fact that Redpath didn't learn a lesson from that. He was warned. And even in the second next test after that, he continued to do the same thing.
Right.
Now, where exactly do you lay the blame? Is it the batsman's fault?
True. I want to trying to understand the history of this particular law. Obviously, it existed before 1835, right?
No, it didn't exist before 1930,
No,
1835.
no. The
It was
reason
just a version.
no, I understand. The
It,
reason I'm asking is if it was it, it's not as if George Bygent invented that
yes,
particular move. Is it
yes.
that, or it's others that must have tried too?
No, as far as I know, it was just a version of run out. And it still is a version of a run out if you look at it. So there
Right.
was no question. The term Mankading came only in 47, 48 because that was the first class match. Maybe, there was not, the stakes were not too much at that point
Right.
of time. Now, what has happened, we have moved into an era where the stakes are very high. And that is why people are probably so touchy about it and talking about, the spirit of the game and all that. Now,
Right.
the question here is that we have to understand is talking between the spirit of the game and the spirit of the rule, what should prevail? If it is in the not in the spirit of the game, why is it a rule in the first place?
Absolutely. I was about to ask you that. So,
Now,
is there a way that the MCC and those who are in charge of such laws can get rid of this particular law?
no, they will not. Because if you see, I don't think there is any chance of this. Because the
Okay.
transition of that law, which was earlier, I have already mentioned, it has been tweaked and retweaked. It has been phrased and rephrased.
Right.
Where, the mention was the bowler is permitted to run out the batsman. Now it says the liability is on the batsman to be run out. In that case, there is no
Yeah.
question of warning the batsman. See,
So,
like if you talk about the spirit of the game, there are so many things which are not in the spirit of the game, but they do happen. So finally, how do you decide? It's on the basis of the rules that you frame.
absolutely. So, your point is that it is cricket if it exists on the statute books of the game.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
If I remember it right, in the same game, the situation was reversed. I was watching some clip where the English bowler was bowling and an Indian non-striker was almost out of it, but she had a little. I think her left or right foot was on the crease. Was it
Yes.
in the same game, or I'm not too sure if it was in the same game because both of them laughed. She laughed, and the English cricketer bowler too laughed at that. And I mean,
See,
yeah,
now it boils down to a question of courtesy, right? It's purely
correct,
left to the bowler to be considerate or not considerate. Now that was
yeah,
a high stake match. So, Deepti Sharma may probably have taken a decision that this is the time to
yeah,
make history. India is going to whitewash England by 3-0.
right,
That was a big margin. So, different considerations, different situations, and different compulsions. So,
right,
if you take a look at the history, maybe this was not a big deal. If you talk of 1835 and onwards, it was not a big deal. It became a big deal. And even in this Sydney test that I'm talking about, 1947-48, there's a clear mention of Sir Dodd Bradman clearly saying that he didn't see anything wrong in that.
I
So
see,
it's a question of perception also to some extent. Yes, I agree. It's a question of perception. But then
right,
finally you have to take a call whether it's in the spirit of the rule or in the spirit of the game. And the
true,
law
true.
has moved categorically from a little bit of gray area to a area where everything is now clearly
You,
demarcated.
yeah, you mentioned that the stakes are so high now, and by that I also take it to mean that commercial stakes are very high in the game. There are a
Yes,
lot of money riding on it. So,
right.
anything to win is within the format of the laws is all right. That's the attitude now.
Absolutely. That is the attitude. And that is why, if you see, that's why I've said when we talk of spirit of cricket or the spirit of the game, we are ignoring so many other things which are not in the spirit of the game. Like if you see, the batsman cursing under the breath or
Yeah,
shouting at his rivals, or there have been instances, so many other instances where you remember that aluminium bat episode when Dennis Lilly threatened Javed Miandad
Right.
and Javed Miandad in turn threatened him, right?
Right.
Then there have been so many instances of players on the cricket field insubordinating the umpires. Is that this against this? Isn't that against the spirit of the game?
Yes.
So, we have to look at the term not from the point of view of only Mankading. It's not as if Mankading only, again, is in the spirit of, not in the spirit of the game. And if it has been legitimized, then probably the only alternative left to you is to tweak the law again so
Right.
that it comes under the ambit, or you can define it as it coming under the spirit of the game. Then I think it
Good.
would be justified.
What's been the? You've talked about how Deepti Sharma has been trolled. How serious has
Yes.
that been? Is it from the English side? Where is the trolling coming from?
Yes, in fact, I made it a little clear a little while ago. The people who are upset most are the Englishmen because
Okay.
probably they have been at the receiving end, right? That is one obvious reason you can make out. And secondly, probably again looking from the point of what has been happened in the past, an English cricketer has never been involved in mankading someone. That is as far as I know.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little more touchy for them. It's an emotional issue for them now. So that's
Right.
why it has been coached in the language that it was such a terrific game of cricket, and finally it had to end in a very terrible manner.
Yeah.
So it was like as you say, in a chand ke mathe par daag lag gaya, something of that sort.
Yeah. Had Deepti not taken the chance, how do you think the game might have gone?
You never know because she was a set batsman playing well,
Right.
right? And in any case, that was the last wicket, so it could have worked both ways. But then again, when people talk looking at a game like this, they always talk in terms of deserving winners, whoever it is.
Right.
It could have been India, it could have been England. So looking at the way the series had shaped up and the way Indians played, and I'm not saying because I'm an Indian, but I'm saying purely from a very neutral point of view, that they were deserving winners.
In fact, the English
And
captain was quoted as saying that India deserved to win.
yes, but then she also she put a rider on the whole thing, saying that there was no such discussion that happened on the ground. Dipti
True.
Sharma had not warned anybody them. No, neither the umpires were told or anything. So now you really don't know what transpired on the field. So it's now a question of it's your word against mine.
Yeah, but it seems conceivable that there was no warning. I'm looking at the clip. If the warning has to happen within the action going live from the run up to the wicket, I
Yes,
mean, purely visually, one doesn't see that happening.
yes, exactly. Now that may have happened earlier. I don't know. See, because
Okay.
it all depends how the camera has portrayed or panned on to the scene of the action,
Right.
right? That way, earlier it is possible. I'm not saying it has happened, but it is
Right.
possible theoretically, hypothetically, that she may have warned before, or she may have brought it to the notice of the umpire. Now, mind you, neither the umpires nor the English captain or anybody else has said anything that she did that. So obviously, the word is it's something that goes against her.
True.
And
True.
as you say, from what we have seen in the clips, it seems unlikely. But then if
Yeah.
you look at what the Indian captain spoke after the match, that we did nothing wrong, we played what according to the rules, and if it comes to that, we'll do it again.
Yeah. Fair.
Mark
Which
her
is a
words.
fair position to take. And if you look
Yes,
at Charlie Dean, she was so much out of the crease. You could have
yes,
eaten your breakfast by the time she came back. She
yes.
was that
That is
far
that is
away.
what I.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
You
mentioned
mentioned
that.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she could have had a few sips of tea and come back and hit the stumps. But
True.
but then see that's the whole thing. I mean, like how much margin do you give for error, right? And now if you
Yes.
look at mankading as an issue of that something goes against the spirit of the game or the spirit of cricket, then by the same token, if the batsman moves out of the crease even a fraction of inch, the wicket keeper stumps him in a flash and he's
That's
out.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Then by that token, the wicketkeeper should also warn the batsman, guy, you are moving out of the crease. I'm giving you one more chance.
No, no,
But
true.
again, as
In
I
fact,
said,
yeah, you're establishing equivalence between striker and the non-striker. That they are exactly
yes,
the
and
same.
And that is what makes me say that, and everybody accepts generally that
Yeah,
it's basically a batsman centric game.
true. Yeah. But I
So
think it was a passing thing. I'm sure people have already begun to uh, forget that this happened. It was in the moment, and we live in a very frenzied era of social media. So
right.
it's a great thing to comment about. It's very exciting for cricket
Yeah,
lovers.
because see, anywhere, controversy anywhere is always exciting. And
Yeah,
this one particularly has been in the embroiled in a controversy all the time, because
true.
the reason why people feel bad about and talk about spirit of cricket and all is because that is the last way a batsman would like to get out. It rankles, no doubt. There's a fact. And I'm sure on the other side of this fence, the bowler also doesn't think it is very exemplary to get a wicket like that. It's not
Exactly.
like the way that he would want to get a wicket,
Right.
right? So it's a very flimsy way of getting a wicket, so
And
to say.
the
But
wicket is counted to be in the bowler's table, or it's not.
no, it's a run out.
No, so run out doesn't go to the bowler.
No, it doesn't go to the bowler.
Yeah,
But these days, what has happened is now, what is happening is now, even somebody who runs out, the credit is given to that fielder or the bowler.
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
With the score, if you read the scorecard, it's always someone run out by so and so.
Yeah, right, right, right. To wrap up, Raju, what's your personal feeling? Do you think this law needs to be gotten rid of, or you're okay with it?
See, you can look at it from both ways, right? It can be a law, right? It you can talk in terms of the spirit of the game. But then my only condition is, if you're talking about the spirit of the game, it should be looked at in totality, not only
Agreed.
as a Mankading episode. Otherwise, you are narrowing down your vision on the entire spirit of cricket.
Right,
It should be looked at from every point of view, whether it's a fielder, batsman, or bowler. You have to be fair. And finally, there cannot be any dichotomy between the spirit of game and spirit of rule. If
right,
somebody can always say, I followed the rule of the game, and that is bound to happen, because, as I said, it's a very commercially high stakes game now, right? Whether it's a
right,
T20 game or a 50-over match or a 5-day test match, so much of this thing. There are what you call awards. then
yeah,
then there are end of commercial endorsements, right?
exactly.
End of match fees and all, right? It's a far cry from what used to happen in the 60s and 70s. If you have if you know these
Right,
players, they got 200, 500 rupees as match fees during the World Cup winning team.
right,
2000 rupees was given to them as some kind of a bakshish. But now you take a catch, you get 1 lakh. You hit a six, you get 1 lakh.
right,
So that, that is the whole thing. Now that reminds me of one more interesting thing that I must brought out. You must have seen sometimes the ball hit by the batsman goes beyond the boundary line, right?
right,
Now what the fielder does is he catches it, throws it inside the field, and catches it again.
right. I've seen that many
I would,
times.
I
Yes.
yes. Now again there is a dispute over here as far as I'm concerned. If you're talking of Mankading, then once the ball has crossed the boundary line,
That's
what is
it.
the yes, then it should be six or four, whatever it may be.
I
The
agree. Yeah.
fact that now, so where is the sportsman spirit here? Now you can't pin down sportsman spirit in some figures and this thing. So it
No,
has to be understood.
no, true. And finally, I'm sure what she did would have added to a brand value. Deepti Sharma will get quite a few
Right,
endorsements when she comes back.
exactly. So that might be one of the considerations.
I'm
And
not
you,
sure
I
if she
mean,
was she would have been motivated in the moment by the fact that she may get some endorsements at the end of it.
may not, I don't know, may or may not. But the
Yeah.
fact is, basically any game, there is a lot of impulsive and reflex action. Now, just
Right.
as the batsman out of reflex starts running out of the crease to get a run, now his intentions may be very honest also. You never
Right.
know. It becomes a habit, right? If you see, every batsman does that. Now, it is just possible that it could be a bowler's impulse or reflex action to run him out. As simple
True.
as that. I think probably sometimes we read too much into all this.
Exactly. Exactly. No, you're
So,
right.
I mean, we need not, I mean, doubt the motives of the players in that, is what I say. If it is a,
Yeah,
if it is in the spirit of the game, it is applicable to everybody.
absolutely. Well, on that note, Raju, it was, as always, a pleasure to talk to you. I'll let you go now. I'll probably run it later today.
Fine. Absolutely. It was
Later,
a pleasure speaking to you as usual.
likewise,
Nakki.
likewise. No, thank you for your time.